The secret she kept. When I got married, I never said a single word about owning a company worth $10 million. And thank God I didn't, because the very next morning after our wedding, a lawyer showed up at my door with a stack of prepared documents. Sophia loved her birthdays, not because of gifts or parties, but because of something far more personal. They gave her permission to stop, to look back, to ask herself honestly, who am I right now, and where am I going next? At 30, she felt solid, grounded. Behind her, a successful career, her own apartment in Manhattan, and most importantly, the one thing she had always guarded above all else, her freedom. But this birthday carried something different beneath the surface, a quiet unease she couldn't quite shake, because in 1 month, she was marrying Aidan. Aidan was charming. He had this rare ability to make you laugh without even trying. He listened, really listened, in a way that made you feel like the only person in the room. Sophia had fallen for him quickly, but she had never once lost her head. Which is exactly why she had never told him about the inheritance. Sophia's grandfather, Henry Harris, had spent his entire life building what he believed in. A quiet immigrant from a small town who arrived in New York in the 1970s with $20 in his pocket and an unshakable belief in hard work. For decades he had built, first a small electronics repair shop, then a modest service company, then, surprising everyone, perhaps even himself, an IT startup, launched at exactly the right moment, in exactly the right place. By the end of his life, Harris Tech Solutions was valued at approximately $10 million. When Henry died, he left everything to Sophia, his only granddaughter, the one he always said had inherited his stubbornness. Sophia accepted the inheritance quietly. No announcements, no celebrations. She hired an experienced management team, restructured the ownership through a private trust fund, and returned to her everyday life, as if nothing had changed at all. At work, she was known as a senior product manager at a mid-sized New York tech company. No one, including Aidan, knew she was a silent investor in several promising startups. And no one, absolutely no one, knew about the trust. A few days before the wedding, Sophia sat across from her attorney, Michael Castro, in his downtown office. He closed his laptop and looked at her directly. "Sophia, I have to ask you something straight. Do you trust this man?" "I love him," she said. "That's not what I asked." She held his gaze for a moment, then looked away. "I don't know," she admitted quietly. "That's exactly why I'm here." Michael nodded slowly. They worked for another 2 hours. By the time they finished, the trust had been completely restructured. The company now existed as a legally separate entity, entirely insulated from any asset that could be considered marital property. Even if someone tried, there was nothing to reach. "I hope your caution turns out to be unnecessary," Michael said as she stood to leave. "So do I," Sophia replied. The wedding was beautiful. A small ceremony. Close friends. White flowers everywhere. Sophia stood at the altar and looked at Aidan and thought, maybe I was wrong to worry. Maybe everything is going to be just fine. She almost believed it. The next morning she woke up first, made coffee, opened her laptop. At 10 o'clock someone rang the doorbell. She opened the door. Standing in the hallway was Victoria, Aidan's mother. Elegant as always, draped in an expensive coat, wearing that particular smile of hers, the kind that was perfectly composed but never quite reached her eyes. Beside her stood a man in a tailored suit, holding a leather briefcase. "Sophia, darling, I hope we're not too early." Victoria was already stepping inside before the question had finished leaving her mouth. "This is Brian Collins, our family attorney. We thought it best to handle a few formalities, while everything is still fresh." While everything is still fresh. Sophia noted that phrase. "What kind of formalities?" she asked, keeping her voice even. "A prenuptial agreement," Victoria said, settling herself onto the sofa, as though she had lived there for years. "Completely standard, simply for the protection of both parties." Brian Collins opened his briefcase and placed a neatly bound set of documents on the coffee table. Sophia picked it up, began to read. For the first few pages it was exactly what Victoria had described. Standard language, routine clauses, division of assets, Mutual obligations. Sophia read calmly, methodically, the way she read every contract, until she reached Section 4.1. In the event that either party held assets undisclosed to the other party at the time of marriage, management of said assets shall, upon execution of this agreement, be transferred to joint administration. The holding party shall provide a full and complete disclosure of all such assets, including, but not limited to. She read the paragraph twice. Then she set the document down on the table and looked up. "This is not a standard agreement," she said quietly. "Sophia, there's no need to overcomplicate things," Victoria smiled. "It's simply about transparency, about honesty between spouses." "Transparency," Sophia repeated, and then the bedroom door opened. Aidan walked in, hair slightly disheveled, coffee mug in hand, still in his robe. He glanced at his mother. He glanced at the attorney. He glanced at Sophia. And he did not look surprised. Not even slightly. He knew. He had known they were coming. He had known why. He had probably known for days. Sophia felt something cold settle in her chest. Not quite anger, not quite grief. Something quieter than both. Something final. She slowly folded the document in half and placed it back on the table. "Did you know about this?" she asked him. "Sophia, just listen for a second," he began. "Did you know?" 1 second of silence. 1 second was enough. "Mom just wanted to make sure everything was fair," he said at last. "If you have nothing to hide, then there's really no reason to." "Please leave," Sophia said. Her voice was calm. Completely calm. "Sophia," Victoria started. "Get out of my apartment. All of you." They left. Sophia stood alone in the middle of her living room. Outside the window, New York hummed along as it always did. Indifferent, relentless, alive. The morning sun came through the glass like nothing had happened. She picked up her phone and called Michael Castro. "Michael, it turns out your concerns were entirely justified." A brief pause on the other end. "I'm on my way," he said. The divorce was swift. Sophia had no interest in drama or public spectacle. She wanted silence, and she got it. But the silence was only the beginning. Several weeks later, Aidan Rivers received a formal letter from the HR department of Nexus Ventures, a prominent New York venture fund where he served as director of business development. The letter informed him that due to a restructuring of the fund's investment portfolio, his position was being eliminated, effective immediately. Aidan called the CEO directly. "Who is behind this?" he demanded. The CEO hesitated for just a moment. "Sophia Harris," he said. "She's been a silent partner in this fund since its founding. We had no idea that you two were connected." Aidan stood at the window of his office for a long time after he hung up. Then he understood that this was no longer his office. Victoria tried to fight back. Her attorney filed several claims. Every single one was dismissed. Sophia's trust structure was airtight. There was nothing to go after and nowhere to reach. It didn't take long before something else surfaced. A significant portion of the Rivers family's business ventures had been financed through loans that were quietly intended to be covered by Sophia's future joint assets. When that plan collapsed, so did everything built on top of it. The house of cards fell slowly at first, then all at once. Aidan sold his car, then his apartment. Victoria relocated to her sister's home in New Jersey. The social circles that had once welcomed them began to close their doors, one by one. Sophia found out through mutual acquaintances. She didn't celebrate. She didn't feel the need to. By then, she was already somewhere else, literally. After the divorce was finalized, she took 3 months off. First, Lisbon. The light there was extraordinary, and she had always wanted to see it. Then Barcelona. Then London, where Harris Tech Solutions was quietly opening its first European office. One evening, she sat on the rooftop terrace of her new London apartment, watching the city lights spread out beneath her in every direction, and she thought, how strange life is. I was so afraid that being careful would make me lonely, and it turned out that being careful was the very thing that set me free. She set her glass down on the railing, picked up her phone, opened a new document, and began writing the business plan for her next project. Because she is Sophia, and she won.